I have that memory, and I don't know what you call it psychologically, but it's that memory where you only remember the good things.
Trauma.
And all the bad things that happened in life, you just block out.
Nice.
Yeah.
And one of those things that I guess I didn't block out was high school. I hated high school.
I liked it.
I hated high school.
I know you liked it because you were homecoming queen.
I liked it.
Did you know she was homecoming queen?
Now I know, but I mean, there were a lot of things I don't remember. I mean, because dude, I was like,
So are you the same way I think?
well, okay,
He
so
blocks out certain
high school
things.
for me, freshman and sophomore year, I block out absolutely. I mean, it was trauma at Damien. I hated it there. I wanted to go home every day. I didn't want.
Was that an all boys school?
It still is,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
All boys Catholic.
That or
Right.
they just hid the girls. But I think it was all boys. So, like, yeah, freshman year was just bad. Sophomore year was bad. Junior year was incredible. Senior year was awesome. If I could have redone junior and senior year over and over again, Groundhog Day, I would have absolutely done it. But freshman and sophomore year, God, they sucked. I mean, it was brutal. I had teachers who were just the meanest people on earth. I mean, one teacher just screamed at us until like you just wanted to like walk out, and then he would scream at you more. And he coached football, which wasn't shocking. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a part of high school that was garbage, and then it turned really good,
agree.
and it was all because of people. So
Yeah,
it wasn't
right.
like, and it could be one of them got a car, and our whole lives turned around. I mean, we could go places. You know, we
I
were
remember
just
those days.
Yeah, we were just like go to school. Man, it was every class I seemed to have a friend in, and yeah, it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
and then
my freshman and sophomore year, like yours, I got into a lot of fights.
Did you really?
I got suspended for fighting.
I never knew this.
Yeah, you didn't want to know me when I was a freshman. I was just like a punk, like a wannabe punk. And things turned around after I got my mom decided one day there was a pivotal point in my life where she said, "Freddie, if you don't turn your life around, we're sending you to Texas."
Oh, man.
And it was when I took this guy's class, and I want to give a warm welcome because we haven't officially done so yet.
Yay.
He was my TV video digital film teacher at Rancho Cucamonga High School, and he's still teaching there to this day, and we're still great friends to this day. He's family to me. Give it up for Matt Cataldo.
Yay.
thank you. So when you were saying that, I remember meeting you as a junior, and I could see like people wanting to like punch you. So, and I mean, it's like, and I got along well with you, but man, oh man. So Freddie would just not only pepper you with questions, just bug the crap out of you until you gave him the answer that he wanted. Not the correct answer, just the one he wanted. Like if he would have handed you a sheet of paper with the correct response, man, life would have been so much easier if I could have just read the response. But nope, not nobody. Everybody that was at Freddie's level worked at a certain speed, at a certain difficulty, at a certain level, and that made everything go well. And so, yes, lots of questions, lots of, I want to do this. How do I do this? What's next here? What can I do here? Good stuff, good bothering. But I mean, I'm like, what is that? It's like 2002, maybe 2000 2001, 2002.
2000. It was 2000. I was 2000, and I graduated 02.
I'm still 26 years old, and these kids are
You were
like
young.
16, 17, 18, and they're just, some of them are just like, it's annoying. And I'm just like, get away from me. I'm like, bring me food and then just put it down on the table and then just walk away.
Well, there was this reputation about Mr. Cataldo at Rancho Cucamonga High School, right? He was the cool TV video teacher, and everybody wanted to take his class. And he's like, "Oh, Mr. Cataldo's the coolest teacher ever." Yeah, there was this reputation, like a celebrity. So I went up to him and I met him for the first time, and my first impression of him was, "God, this guy's kind of a dick."
I'm glad that he put in kind of.
Where's the celebrity at? I mean, I heard all this. There's so much hype about him.
But I knew right away why everybody liked you. You had something different, and it wasn't just your personality, but it was your teaching style. And it was your teaching style that really, for me, that is how I learned. It's hands-on.
Yeah.
Throw me into the pool.
I like that.
I'm forced to swim. I have to. I need to put my hands on something tactile, work on it, fail, make it better, fail again, and then eventually become good at it.
And I wasn't there to like hold people's hands. So when I got hired, they were like, literally, they looked at me and said, "Your class is a dumping ground." I said, "All right, what do you mean?" They're like, "We just dump all the kids who failed out of other classes, can't can't deal with other people. And I'm like, all right. So they're like 13 teachers in the span of 7 years. The school was open 7 years before I got there. 13 teachers in 7 years. Most of them quit. Some were fired. Some probably just walked away and were never heard from again. And I was just like, this cannot be that hard. I've been doing videos since I was 9 years old. I said, I walked in, garbage equipment, just destroyed. I'm like, this is bad. I'm like, we getting new stuff? What's up? They're like, nah, we're not giving you any money. I mean, this is basically a black hole of money. We throw money in and stuff gets stolen. I was like, all right, cool. So we just started working. And I came there to do a certain thing, which was just actually work close to my house. I wanted to work close to home because my daughter was, young. And I was like, all right, cool. Then people just started asking me to work. Like, will you teach this class? Will you teach that class? Will you teach night class? Will you teach after school? And I'm like, sure. And so like I went from teaching 6:30 in the morning till 8:30, 2 periods at Rancho in 9900. And by the next semester, I was teaching 13 classes between 2 different schools. I would leave Rancho, go to Canyon View, and work from 9 to 9, Monday through Thursday, and 9 to 6 on Friday. And I was just like, this is awesome. This is fun. Like, it was really, really fun. I was having a good time. People were starting to like what we did. We did it a certain way. And then they were like, oh, we can get you some money. Then money started rolling in. I'm like, oh, this is even easier. How easy can this job get if there's just money?
You were 26 years old. You were super young. You were only a few years older than seniors.
I was 23. Yeah. I was 23 when I started.
Yeah.
I was just 23, and I had some kids who were 18 and 19. I mean, one student, Justin, that I still keep in touch with, he's 4 years younger than me. And so I'm 48 going on 49, and I believe he just turned 44. And
are there 23-year-old teachers in high school today?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, you get out of high school at 18.
A couple of them at Rancho were pretty young.
You go 4 years in college. You then go a fifth year for your degree, for your credential. And you could be 23 teaching. You could be 22 teaching. I mean, you take an extra class each semester, or you come in with like some AP credits. And you could really,
you already have like an AA
you
when
could
you're
really
graduating
get
high
through
school
in 3 years. I mean, you could do it in 3 years, then do your credential and be 22.
When I was 23 years old, there was no way I could head a class, a department, an organization, anything.
I could.
That's because when you were 23, you were still acting like you were 17. So
that's very true. Probably went a lot longer than that.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
So I'm thinking back to a few years. I'm like, you were still like,
but there's a lot
does that
of people
girl
like that
me? Does that girl not like me?
I still think about that today.
Yeah, so exactly. So yeah, so
how do you know when you're that young? Okay, I am ready to do this.
I was going to be a store manager of Nordstrom's over being a teacher. And then just one day, a teacher that my dad worked with at Montclair, who worked for the company, was an editor. He said, there's this ROP job open at Rancho on Montclair. I was like, ROP what? He goes, TV video. And I was like, that would be fun, actually. I'm like, I can't say that I wouldn't enjoy teaching high school. Too bad I dropped out of college. And I just walked to my office and I started going about my work. And then Doug walks back in. He goes, oh, yeah, you don't need a college degree. I was like, you don't need a college degree to teach? He goes, no, you just need work experience. You have more than enough. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, interesting. So I called the district, went down there, got the paperwork. Yep, turned in an application. The district was like, let's try something new. We've been trying all these industry people. Then we tried teachers and nothing's working.
Yeah.
And so there it was. I don't have to drive
been there
far.
Ever since.
Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't leave. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and people find out about what my brother does. And they're like, oh my God, wouldn't that be so cool to do? I'm like, nah.
He's an editor, right?
My brother's an editor and director, television, specializes 1 hour dramas, and is incredible. I mean, he's just an incredible editor. I mean, member of the DGA in the United States, DGA in Canada, and just incredible at what he does. I mean, the shows he's done work for, editing shows like Outer Banks and, All American, directing All American, Good Doctor, things like that. He's super talented. And not a single day goes by where I'm like, God, I want that job. I want to drive to LA and sit in traffic and deal with people that I don't like. No, I just want to be here.
Which is a big part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
with what I've done and having 300, 400, 500 kids working in the film industry, doing film production on their own, starting companies, whatever it is, I'm like, I absolutely made it to the right place, and I'm here. I'm staying.
Okay, so talk about a lot of your students who've really become successful and made a career for themselves straight from your classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do they do? What?
I mean, just everything. anything you can think of, we have somebody doing it. I mean, from directors to camera ops to.
Like, who are some highlights that you've had?
Red Chris is doing his own. He owns his own film company.
Awesome.
Chris Williams, still a professional photographer. Then you got Kevin Vallejo. So Kevin Vallejo's owns a company called 24 Karat Gold in Miami. Nehemiah is somewhere in the world right now doing a new challenge show.
Okay, because he was on the Real World for
he was on the Real
seasons.
World.
Yeah,
Remember
I
that?
remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he did Real World Austin, and then he's done Real World Rules challenges, and now he's just regularly on the challenge
I
shows.
forgot all about that.
He posted a picture of him and Johnny Bananas, and I was like, dang, dude, you're standing next to a 7-time challenge champion, and you're just Nehemiah. And he's like, that's funny. I was like, yes, I know you've won 3. And, so he laughs. Let's see, you're there. Valerie and Marissa, both in film. Marissa is a key grip, does a lot of women-only crews. She also, her and her brother do rentals of grip equipment.
Nice.
Valerie's been doing, I think, producing, directing, but she had a baby a few years ago, and I think she's focused on that. Then you got Steven Nelson, who rose to be an amazing sound guy. Armin is doing clearance still. I believe he's still with Bravo.
You're still in the same classroom. From when I was there.
That's
same.
Still go down the stairs
underneath
and it's
the library.
Underneath the library. So we're losing that room.
Are you? Is it official?
So it is going to be someone else's room in under 2 years. I'm finishing year 26. I mean, I have this year plus, 6 more just to get to 55. So at that point, I'll have, 32 years in. 32 years is a career.
Yeah.
I mean, I have given my entire life to education. My first 25 years of education, I taught 46 years worth of periods.
Wow.
So a regular day is 5 periods. I averaged 9. And during that time, I taught almost 46 years of periods in 25 years. I wasn't completely double, but I was that close to have taught double, 50 years worth of teaching in a 25-year span. So I have done everything that someone should do in a career in education. I have made the connections that will live forever. I never in my wildest dreams thought that the majority of my friends at 48 years old would be the people I taught. Not like, I mean, I didn't have a lot of friends out of high school.
Though, right?
That is very cool.
So I never would have thought it. And it's like the greatest. I mean, I see people and people are just like, they love it. And it's not everybody. And I'm not as well known. Like, I don't like to be on the bulletin, but I still am. And I'm not as well known as I was in the past because I kind of just keep to myself and I stay away from everything. But kids come and have lunch. Kids see me and they say hi to me and I no clue who they are. And it's fine. It's cool. And I love it. And I'm like, I'll keep doing that until the day I retire. And when I shaved this past week, no one really saw it during COVID. So, when I did it during COVID, when the Dodgers won in 2020, it wasn't as profound because everybody was online. So my kids online were scared. They were like, dude, that's crazy. And then a week later, they're like, dude, you got a beard back. I'm like, I know. And in a few weeks, you'll notice you won't even remember that it happened.
Yeah.
But I was on campus, so it was more shocking. Some of my kids just kept walking back out the door, hoping that they would walk back in, and I guess it'd be back again.
Yeah.
I mean, my children hate it. Alyssa told me to go in a room, lock myself in there, and only come out when I look like me. She also called me a naked mole rat. And
My
she
dad
said,
looks terrible with his beard and mustache shaved, by the way. I told him he's never allowed to do it again.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, she said I look like an angry garden gnome. I'm like, if it wasn't for my kids,
my favorite one.
I'm like, children, just Nicholas is just like terrible. But people see
By the way,
like
when you shaved, you and Nicholas, man, look so alike.
So people say that. They'll say we look alike. I mean, I look like my dad did, and like a lot of people see that. Shocks a lot of people because I don't look. I'm not recognizable without facial hair.
Yeah.
I look a lot different. So it's very like people are like, you don't look like the same person. And I'm like, that's very possible. And and everyone's like, they're like, but you look a lot younger.
Yeah.
And I said, man, don't really care. Another teacher said I looked friendly and approachable. So I don't want.
I saw that.
What does that mean?
I don't want that. If the way I look to begin with gets me 60 kids in at lunch every day, 50 kids hanging out after school, and nobody leaving me alone for like 3 minutes of my own private time, then I certainly don't want to look more friendly and more approachable.
Then there'll be 200 kids
because
in
then
there.
I'll never be able to get in and out. So I was like, okay, I'll keep the beard and I'll stay at the friendly and approachable level I'm at.
What was your favorite class in high school, Michelle?
Criminal justice.
There was a criminal. Wow.
Mr. Longo. Yep.
And now she works at a place that she can't talk about on the podcast or in public.
I can, but I'd rather not use the podcast to talk about it. I could, if the cameras and everything were off, I could tell you all about it, when people ask me, I'll say it freely.
Somebody guessed CIA.
Did they really?
Yes.
Oh, he shall not mention. No.
That would be one that you probably wouldn't talk about on the podcast.
No, I really wanted to get into the CIA, but I had a son really young, and that put a stop to me moving around. It kept me grounded where I was instead of moving all over.
I've always told Michelle this. I said, Michelle Zuno can become the mayor of Fontana. And at first she was like, come on. Why do you say that?
I don't know.
And her response was this, and we're good friends, so we could talk about this.
Yeah.
She's like, Freddie, out of all the things I've done in my life, there's no way I could become a mayor.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, look at the politicians today.
Yeah, they have a lot of skeletons in their closet. But I told Freddie, this is why I don't want to run. I don't want to be liked or hated by that many people. I'd like to just fly on the radar.
Yeah, under the radar.
Under the radar.
Yeah.
Everybody hates politicians.
Yeah. Especially nowadays.
And now, I guess it's nowadays. I mean, when I was telling my students the story about when I ran for city council at 18, and I had a red mohawk at the time. But when I went to get the paperwork, I had it braided and pulled back.
By the way, do you have any photos of you with a mohawk?
No, I had a video.
You better find them.
Yeah,
no, I had
if there's anything, can you?
I had a video and I gave it to a girl and she lost it.
So
no!
So
that should, because I would take a video every time I would change the color of my hair.
Okay.
And so I went in and I pulled paperwork with red hair, and the lady was really, really perturbed and that I was even wasting the time of getting this binder. And I told her, I said, I know one of the city council members and I know his friend, and they told me how to run and I could do it. And she's like, what, just hands me the binder. So a couple of days later, I'm washing my hair and my hair starts to break off. I had bleached it too much. And so I had like 17 different layers of different lengths of hair. So I went to the barber. I had it cut down to just, normal length. And then I stripped out the red, and then I did it like a chestnut brown or whatever I could find at Stater Brothers. And I went to a family reunion in Missouri, and I came back, and I had all my paperwork signed, and I had my check for $25. And I went down to the Uplands, City Hall, and I called they called the lady over, and I handed it to her. And I was like, "Here's the notebook, and here's the paperwork." And she says, "Who are you?" And I was like, "My name is Matthew Cataldo." And she's like, "Where did you get this binder?" I was like, "You handed it to me." She's like, "I did not." And I was like, "You did." And so we go back and forth for about like a minute. And she's getting really angry. And I'm like, "I don't understand." I was like, "I have all this stuff.
She didn't recognize you.
Can you just take it in?" And she's like, "I can, but I need to know how you got this binder because I'm the only one that's supposed to give them out." And I said, "You handed it to me. It's about 3 weeks ago." And then it dawns on me. I said, "Oh my gosh, that's why you don't remember me." I said, "I had a red mohawk that was braided back in and pulled into a ponytail." And she's like, "That was you?" I said, "That was me." I said, "My hair kind of fell out and I cut it and I dyed it brown and here's where I am." And she's like, "I do remember you." I thought, why is this kid getting this paperwork? This is a joke. And I said, "Well, thank you." And I said, "Here you go." I was like, "We're good." And then she took it. I'm like, and I guess, I was like, I really like politics. I was a poli-sci major and business major and a history major. And so I studied all those things and loved them. And politics today is not that. National politics is really, they're unfortunate, and state politics are unfortunate.
Well, I wanted to ask you that, but first I wanted to say, Michelle, you should do that.
Yeah,
local council, just
local school, and it matters.
I think city council's great. My dad always says that he'll be my campaign manager, and he really is. He's very politically involved in our community, at the lowest level, like in the community. He will go door to door. He will put signs on people's grass. He will pass out flyers. He will go to all the community meetings. He's that kind of guy.
Best thing
he
ever.
likes politics.
Best thing ever is to see your name on a sign in someone's yard.
Yeah.
That was the second reason I ran. I mean, the first reason I ran for city council was because they told me it paid $500 and you got a company or you got a city phone, a cell phone. And this is 1993 and I'm 18 years old. And I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
that's rad
I'm making
back then.
$4 an hour at Easy Out, flipping burgers, doing fries. I'm like, $500. I'm like, how much do you have to work? They're like 1 meeting a month and 2 committees. It's like, dude, this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I guess that it was not. But there was something going on, obviously, in politics because I got the most votes per dollar. So I got 665 votes and I spent $200 of my dad's money because I wanted 200 yard signs and sticks because I wanted my name in people's yards. I was that arrogant. I mean, not anymore because I'm a very humble person. And so it was cool. And I'm like, but people spent like 20 grand.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of their own money. I mean, 3 rich people blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of donations. I mean, they were getting votes at like 60 cents a vote.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting votes at what was that? 30 cents? No. 600, yeah, it was 33 cents or something. They spent like 20 grand to get like 12,000 votes. They were like at 60 and I was at like 30 cents a vote. So, I mean, theoretically, all I was needing was about 20 grand in money and I could have got a job that made $500 a month. I was like, you guys are the worst at math ever. I'm like, some of these people were rich. And I'm like, then I realized about 3 years later, we started having those scandals. So 1993, maybe not 3 years, about 2000, remember? Cities started, Bell Gardens had city council people making like 60, 70 grand.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then I found out at that time, Upland City Council were making like 30,000 plus they were making like $500 for every committee meeting they went to.
Yeah.
And some people, not ours, I don't know if it was our city, but other cities started creating committees just so all the council members could go. And they were like doing committee meetings back to back to back to back. So like 6 in a day, pulling like $3 grand extra on a day, running like 6 committees. And so then all these cities just folded. And I was like, oh, so I was in it right before it got big because I was like $500.
Yeah.
Then I found out Ontario paid $1,000 and you got a company car
You know, the mayor of Ontario lives like a block away from here.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Montclair.
Like, well, we're at the border.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, aren't they supposed to live in the same
The
city?
border.
that-
It's like 1 block over is Ontario. Here's a question.
Who is the mayor of Ontario?
I forgot his name. I don't
Because
remember.
I used to know him when I went, but he was there one of them was there for a while because I knew him when I was running for city council when I ran for county board of supervisors in the next year. And then I found I got a girlfriend. So like
I remember I
didn't
had lunch
do
with
anymore.
the Rancho Cucamonga mayor.
Yeah. Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis something. He's an ex-firefighter,
Yep.
really cool guy. And then Rancho was beautiful and it was great and it was, no problems. And
And
this was before.
scandal.
What scandal was this?
Wasn't there multiple scandals in Rancho?
With him or
No,
with
no,
other
with
people?
with mayor and with some council people.
Oh, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in Rancho Cucamonga now. I mean, well, let's not even get into all the condos they just built. I mean, it's a mess in that city.
All
that
it
city-
is housing being built.
Well, it's
I mean,
better
they're-
than the mayor of Fontana who builds warehouses.
Oh, well, they're looking at dirt and they're like, hey, look, there's dirt over there. Build something on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, it's
It's
I mean,
way
if you
better
just
than
drive
warehouses, I'm
on the
telling
10
you.
freeway through Ontario and you see all those apartments and condos, and you realize,
Yes.
are these streets going to be able to cater to this
know.
growth of population?
Plus the grocery stores and lack of restaurants and lack of
And I
all
was
of
talking.
that.
There was this woman who owned a Chinese restaurant in Rancho Cucamonga off of Vineyard in Foothill, and she was telling me that the leases, the rent has gone up.
Oh, it's crazy.
They cannot afford, even making money and being successful. They cannot afford to stay, so they're all moving east. A lot of these shopping centers are becoming ghost towns. The only thing that are staying is Starbucks and the grocery store, and everything else is
because
gone.
they're huge chains.
It's leaving.
the thing is that all these landlords, all they want is chains. All they want is
Yeah.
franchises because they guarantee longer leases.
Right.
They guarantee them as a group, and they can make the money. But right now, those businesses. I mean, you're talking $6 a square foot to rent down here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's outrageous and up. I mean, when I had my gaming places back in 2000, 2001, 2002, I mean, we were paying $1.30 in Fontana, and we paid 90 cents in Upland, and we were looking at better places at like $1.50, and those were like high. And now we're talking like 4 times. They've gone up 3 to 4 times in the last couple decades, and you just can't survive. Regular businesses can't survive because regulations, costs, taxes, and now the state of California is about to hit, all businesses with another increase in unemployment tax because they gave away, $55 billion in probably fake unemployment. And now Newsom knew he took the loan from the federal government. And when you take that loan, if you default as a state, you don't default. The business owners of the state of California default, and they have to pay back the loan and the fees. So he gave away all the money, took the loan out, and doesn't care because someone else will foot the bill. I watched a video of him yesterday acting like he didn't know that group, the committee they set up, I think they're called CARB. They're the ones that are supposed to, help with pollution.
Oh yeah.
They put in a bunch of regulations that will make gas go up upwards of 40 cents come January the 1st. And he acted, when the guy asked him, he acted like he had no idea. He goes, I have no idea what you mean. In 40 days, gas is going to go up. And it's like, even the Democrats in California are outraged because they're like, people can't afford another 40 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And the people at the CARB were like, oh, well, we want to go further. One lady voted against the changes because she didn't think it was enough. And the reason is, I hate conspiracies. I hate thinking that way, but we understand what it is. Make gas so expensive that nobody can afford it. So then nobody will drive gasoline cars anymore. So then you won't have emissions, theoretically. We don't have enough electricity to power all the electric cars, but let's take off the rest of the gas cars. So if you make gas so expensive, then people will just be like, oh, I guess I'll have to get electric because I can't even fill up anymore. Gas stations will shut down. Refineries will shut down. Everybody will close. No one will manufacture gas in the state of California anymore. No one wants to do those regulations, and then you'll have no gas.
Didn't we just lose Chevron? I mean,
that was right after Newsom passed through that new bill that changes and makes the. So what it did was, I guess there's a new. They want to keep changing the refining. They told these refineries, you have to have so much gas on hand. You have to produce so much gas so often. So there's no times where there's downtime. So like even when the factories switch over from winter blend to summer blend, we don't want to hear about downtime and how it costs more money. So yeah, Chevron immediately said, well, we'll just shut down then. And we got a lot of old refineries. I mean, people they've been refining gas and oil in California for, over 100+ years.
Yeah.
So a lot of these places aren't as new. And the fact is that they can do it other places.
Yeah.
And they're never going to come back and bring their gas to California because they can refine it and make it in other states for less, not deal with the legislation. I mean, and right now, I have this argument regularly with people that I care about, and they're like, the oil companies and gas companies are gouging us. I'm like, if that was true, we have all the stats because Newsom gets all the numbers. He gets all the profit from all the oil companies. So he's trying to sue them. But I think it's just publicity because what he wants to do is he wants them to just basically leave, say, oh, we're going to shut down. And so he's suing them for gouging. The problem is that nobody makes more on a gallon of gas than the government in the state of California.
That's true.
2001, California gas ranked at the national average. So the average was 145. California was 147. Okay. Now we're $1.10 higher than the national average. And it's not shocking that our taxes and fees are way higher.
People feel that the state wants to run them out. And it's if you notice,
That's
everybody
how it
who's
feels.
been living in Los Angeles, then they move east towards West Covina, and then they can't even do West Covina. So now they're in Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, but they can't even do that. So now they're going to
High
Murrieta,
desert,
or they went up High
Marietta.
Desert, or they went to Palm
Marietta.
Springs and Indio.
or they're doing what everybody else is doing, taking the Oregon Trail to Texas.
They went really
Florida.
east.
Yeah, and
Arizona.
it's everything. You can't afford anything in this state anymore. And here's what I learned when I was in LA. There was a certain demo of people. In LA, there was the real lifeblood of Los Angeles, the true heart and soul, the people who working day and night, who were born here or who came here, and they're just making the city run. And then there was Hollywood, and it was a small little bubble.
Like melting pot people.
A small little bubble of just Kim Kardashian wannabes, and everybody's like, oh, I don't like Hollywood. Well, I said, well, that's a small bubble. But over the last 10 years, that bubble grew so quickly. And it's like now the majority of that city is nothing but awful, terrible people. And I say that with with heart, because all of the good people, the lifeblood of Los Angeles, have been pushed out because of the Kim Kardashian wannabes who now have, want the next reality show.
And there's two things that come out of people's mouths when you tell them you live in Southern California. How many celebrities do you know and see on a daily basis? And have you or they get the other one, which they don't really want to say out, is that basically every store we go to is just trash bag and you steal everything and run out of the building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so far. But I'm not going to say exactly, but if you look at, we'll say recent colored maps of the state of California, you can see the difference. There's only two colors that they use, but you can see where all of those things happen near the water on the coast. And then the rest of the state was a totally different color. And there wasn't even any of the other color from the edge, which used to be speckled around the rest of the state.
Right.
Now that color is just on the coast where all the rich people live. And the other color is the entire rest of the state.
Yeah.
And it's wild because people don't want to see it. I mean, you see a presidential campaign and candidate who just got double-digit losses in the state of California, where basically they don't even campaign in our state anymore because it's a given that people are going to blindly vote for them. They don't even care. All they do is come to California to raise money, to use the money in other states where they think they, might have a chance to unseat somebody. And it's wild, and that's where we are. I mean, the funny part, and this is politically, we got people in our area who vote for Democrats. And then they're like, well, I really like them. I'm like, but you don't, because you live in an ultra conservative area where there's no real crime and there's no smash and grabs and there's no looting, because the people who run your city and the city around you are very, very not good with that. But you vote for people who are good with that. And you don't realize that you're never going to see that. You're like, oh, I voted for that person because they were going to do this and this and this. I'm like, but you'll never see that because the people in your city run it the way you want. But then you don't vote for people at the state level who run the state the same way as you would run the city. And you're happy. People are like, oh, my city is really safe and I don't see any of that looting. Exactly. Because you vote and live in a city that is one way. And then the people you vote for to run the state are complete polar opposites of what your city is, but you don't ever experience it. I mean, I think if you vote for people who are soft on crime and just allow looting, maybe you should live in the areas where they used to run and they used to control, and then go there and see how much you like it, because people don't. I mean, San Francisco has been destroyed.
Ugh.
It's sad.
It's wild. It's wild to see how many smash and grabs LA has had, and it's almost like they purposely want to ruin the state of California. It's I
just
joke,
the cities where they're allowed to do it.
I joke, but I have
There's no consequences.
I half joke, but I half not when I say, have you ever seen the movie Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner in 1984 with Harrison Ford, when it pans over to the future of Los Angeles and it looks like just a big futuristic trash bin of just smoke and homeless people everywhere.
It's getting there.
Yep.
Look at LA now.
And it's sad. I watched a video, and it was a councilwoman from LA blaming Toyota for making it so easy to steal catalytic converters. And I watched it over and over again. And I was like, wait a sec. You're saying lay on the floor, get on a dolly, jack up someone's car, slide under it, pull out a reciprocating saw, cut all the pipes, remove the catalytic converter, come back out, lower down the car, remove your jack and your dolly, take the catalytic converter. That's too easy? So what, build a cage around the catalytic converter? That takes you then 4 more seconds to cut, drop the cage off, take that to the recycling place. Yeah. And I'm like, literally, this human was blaming Toyota for not securing a part on the bottom of a vehicle attached to mufflers and exhaust pipes.
But no cars do that. I mean, no car manufacturers
and I'm
do
like,
that.
you just said that it's not the thief's fault for going around with, you know, catalytic converter stealing tools, but it's the company's fault for not securing the catalytic converter enough. And I guess maybe up in San Francisco, they're like, well, I mean, maybe the window makers should make them harder to bust out with bats.
No.
Come on.
You have to. It's a deeper rooted problem that needs to be taken care of. Not the stuff that you could just visibly see.
It's
with
like
your
blaming poppy farmers in Southeast Asia for growing beautiful flowers just because someone's going to shoot up heroin later. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. We have to put the issues. But look at California. Prop 36 was devastatingly passed. And Gavin Newsom was out there crying.
Which one was 36 again?
Prop 36 was basically the repeal of 47, which then will now make it a crime again. It was always a crime. It was always a crime, but they're going to now prosecute these criminals. So before, if you stole $1 worth of anything, it's still a misdemeanor. Rancho would arrest you in a heartbeat. Yeah. They'll arrest you in a heartbeat if you got a chapstick from Target.
Yeah.
Instantly they'll arrest you. But everybody else was just like, well, we're just going to let them go. The problem that happened was these people kept stealing over and over and over and over again, and nobody was even doing anything. Nobody was giving them a misdemeanor ticket. Nobody was putting it on record. And so there was it's like it never happened. So if you keep robbing at a certain level, and they were actually finding rings of these. So they were just storing in places and just selling it online. And so they were stealing 800-900 per trip and doing trip after trip after trip after trip. And so, so it swung back to people are like, no. So Prop 36. But my favorite was Gavin Newsom at a press conference crying about Prop 36. He goes, what state am I living in? Where is this? Are we going back to the 80s when tough on crime? I'm like, I think people are kind of wanting it.
So can you
they want to go back to tough on crime.
Simplify.
I think so.
Simplify
I think people
this
are tired
for me.
of crime.
Why would any state allow this to happen for so long? To their benefit.
Him. It's not the state.
It's Gavin Newsom. I get it, but why? Why?
Okay, so progressives. So what happened was Newsom and the progressives, like your joke Gascon over in LA, the ousted DA who was recalled up in San Francisco, they believed they had a mandate from the people of California, New York, Illinois. They believed there was a mandate from their progressive wing of their political party to figure out a new way to police. Let's shut down prisons. Let's let the people out. Even some violent criminals, and let's not prosecute them for petty theft. Okay, so the idea to me is separating certain things. Fine, separate drug use, separate petty theft, separate, certain things. But the problem is that the law still said it was a misdemeanor. It was changed from a felony to a misdemeanor. But if you had a DA in your city who would not prosecute any type of petty theft, then everybody just started stealing. If you prosecuted them, then they paid a fine, it went on their record, and the next time they did it, now you got 2 misdemeanor thefts. Now you got 3. Now it's time you're going to go to jail for 30 days. So then at that point in Orange County, in San Bernardino County, in Riverside County, they weren't doing that because they were arresting them. They were taking them to county jail, and they were locking them up, and they were going to court, and they were paying a fine, they were paying restitution. Well, in LA County, in San Francisco, Marin, in that area, they weren't. They were just letting them run wild. And so what happens is it's the second part of inflation where prices go up. If a store is being robbed blindly on a regular basis and say they lose $100,000 worth of merchandise every month, stupid people online are like, oh, insurance pays. No companies can insure their product from petty theft. You just can't do it. You would pay more money in insurance than you would ever have stolen from you. So it's just loss. It's just bottom line loss. So if Walgreens in San Francisco is losing $100,000 a month worth of product, they have to increase prices on the people who are spending money by $100,000. Right. So what was happening is prices were going up everywhere, not just because supply chain, not just because of new taxes, regulations, and fees, not just because of inflation, But now you added in massive, massive rampant theft. And so all of these things were happening and everything was just building on top of each other. And then we were just paying too much. I mean, prices go up on things, yes. And I shop at 3 places which I believe are pretty much the barometer for prices going up or down. I shop at Winco, I shop at Sam's, I shop at Costco. When prices go up there, you know the manufacturer has raised the price.
Yeah.
You know something costs more because they don't ever just raise the price to make more money. All 3 companies have a plan of how to be profitable, and they're great at it. So when green beans go from 98 cents a pound to $1.20 a pound at Winco, I know that the cost of green beans, getting them to me, has actually gone up. Okay, I buy generic cereals. I buy, house brand most things. When those products go up in price, I know the actual manufacturing of them has gone up. Albertsons, I think, just raises the prices to make money because, that's what they're in the business for.
They're expensive.
They are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I go in there and I mean, my wallet shrinks and I didn't even touch anything.
Stater Brothers has become like the new norm, and they've gotten really good.
But you know why
sushi bar.
You know why Stater Brothers has gone
Stater
up in
Brothers.
price though.
Tell me.
Stater Brothers has gone up in price because when Jack Brown died, I think it's granddaughter or great granddaughter took it over. And I think she's getting ready and priming them. They changed their outfits. They changed everything they do.
Everything.
They're getting
Even
ready.
the inside of the stores have new
Yeah.
concepts.
Yep, they're getting ready to sell.
Right.
So I think for the last few years, they've been priming their numbers, showing what they can get out of their customers, still being less than Vaughn's, Ralph's, and Albertsons, which are about to become one company if the government doesn't stop them. But Stater Brothers is raising their prices to see where are we. We're not food for less. We're not Superior. We're not places like that. We're right here. Albertsons and Vaughn's and Ralph's are up here.
Yeah.
How close can we get? Where's that number where we can charge just enough to make solid profits all around and still keep our customer base? Remember, they were they followed along. So Jack Brown always said why Stater Brothers never went on strike. So Stater Brothers always said, this is what we'll do. If there's ever a strike, if there's ever union negotiations, whatever it may be, we will give you whatever the union says. You just can't go on strike. So Stater Brothers never struck. Stater Brothers always had a contract to work. And when the contract was figured out, Stater Brothers just took it and said, okay, we're good. And they did it differently. But Jack Brown was a different guy. I mean, Jack Brown was a legend. I mean, the guy built Stater Brothers into a juggernaut. I mean, some people consider Stater Brothers a monopoly in Southern California. Their dominance in Southern California is just unheard of for a grocery store. Yeah. I mean, they just crush everybody.
Well, monopoly has been happening pretty often. I mean, look at Ticketmaster. Look at
monopolies have went unchecked for decades now.
Why is that?
Because I think politicians make so much money off good monopolies.
But it's illegal, right?
Yes.
So why is
by
there,
law?
So why is there not somebody?
Because our government is corrupt, and it's the easy answer, and it's the real answer. I saw this guy. I don't really know much about him. Josh Hawley, I think is his name. It's Hawley.
Sounds so familiar.
He's a congressman out of the great state of Missouri.
Okay.
And he was grilling the CEO of Visa and MasterCard.
Okay.
Visa and MasterCard profit at a level above 50%. Just incredible. And they control 80+% of the credit card transaction market. And they don't have any issue with it. They actually were crying to Congress about, we don't need any more competition. Certainly you don't need any more competition.
Yeah.
You're charging everyday small businesses 3% plus to transact credit cards. And then you turn around and give a sweetheart deal of probably less than 1% to Walmart.
Yeah.
And that's how Walmart continues to crush small business.
Ticketmaster is the same way, and they could charge outrageous fees for a concert. But these people, like the goodwill people, the ones who are making the hard-earned dollar, are seeing how our government and our world is ran, our state has ran, and it's unmotivating to say the very least, because they're like, okay, all these other people who are richer than me, more powerful than me, are getting away with all these illegal activities, but here I am doing the right thing, and I'm getting crushed.
They're getting away with legal activities because the government allows them to be
They're
legal,
loopholes.
and so they profit and they benefit from it. And the problem is that our government has gotten away from caring about the majority of people, and they either care about whoever has the money or whoever's the loudest. And I don't know how the future is going to go. I'm optimistically excited about RFK Jr. I'm scared because all the stuff he talks about is in every food I eat. And I really, really like those foods. So I'm scared because he's like, they're poisons. And I'm like, they taste so good.
Yeah.
They're the best poisons I've ever had. I'm like, but if it's gone and I can't get a hold of it, then I can do it.
And
But I can't.
it's
I
when
can't
it's
do it on my
available
own.
and
Right.
It's dangling around.
I can't.
you.
I
It's
can't.
like
I
somebody-
can't stay away from Red 40 on my own. But if
No,
you just,
me either.
if you just
It's
take
like
it
if
out
your
of
kid buys
everything,
a bucket of ice cream and puts it in the freezer and says it's just for me.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, we're eating it.
Yeah, sorry.
Come on.
It's not just for you.
Everyday people,
Especially if it's mint and chip.
everyday people. We know we're lactose intolerant as humans.
Yeah.
Because I think it's past 2 or 3 years old, you're immediately lactose intolerant. Some just fight it better than others. I mean, I just say power through the ice cream. But I mean, it's like this stuff. I'm like, I'd probably drink 2 liters of diet soda a day or 0 sugar Pepsi. And people are shocked. And I'm like, I could drink way more if I wanted. I mean, I'm trying to cap myself at under 2 liters. And people are just like, it's straight poison. I'm like, I love it. I love
So is regular sugar.
Yeah, I love drinking it. I mean,
sugar-free is poison. Regular sugar is poison.
Yeah.
so
What
what
do
is
we
it
do?
going to
Have
be?
flavorless?
Yeah, yellow dyes, green dyes, red
Yes.
dyes, blue dyes. I'm like,
There's this book that I read called Food. What the Heck Should I Eat by Dr. Mark Hyman, who we were talking
Yeah,
about
we
with
were
Ron
talking
Shapiro.
about.
It's the big food industry, which is corrupt, is where everything against little old us. What
Yeah.
chance do we have?
I like
I
the
know.
names they give because I mean, Big Pharma kind of got its name, from just being out of nowhere. But now I heard Big Food. I'm like,
Yeah.
Big
Big
Food.
food.
Big food
Big
industry.
food.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess tobacco was the first big
tobacco.
big bad.
But it worked.
yeah,
It works
big
hand in
tobacco.
hand, like
Because
fried-
little tobacco was safe, but big tobacco was scary.
It's
Because
like
it makes it seem like big are the people who are after your money. When you say big, it means that's not me. I'm not the big. I'm the
exactly. And then you
They're
try
the
to
nice,
eat healthy,
everyday people.
like fish, and then they're like, "Well, you got to be careful because of the mercury
Sure.
and the pollution in the water."
Little. Yeah.
And then you'll hear that tilapia was like lab created and doesn't really exist in the world. And I'm like, oh man,
Is that what they said?
yeah, I think.
They say it's bottom feeder fish.
but I thought
Basically, it's
tilapia.
unhealthy.
No, I think tilapia was like a created fish. It's like you read about it. It's like it like doesn't like exist in the water. Like it doesn't exist in the ocean or the sea. It exists in farms. So I don't
farm fish.
because I don't think you can find
Well, that's like sea bass. too. That's
naturally
not really
raised
like a-
fresh tilapia. I think it's just all farm
So you're
raised.
saying about Chilean sea bass? They're not going to Chile to get some sea bass and
yeah,
bring it up
like
here?
look Google sea bass
No,
and
they're-
see where
Wow.
you can catch a sea bass.
They're
Wow.
yeah. I think they're just genetically Chilean, and it's
The Chileans make
wherever
them
wherever
in a
you find
genetic
them,
lab.
wherever you find the sea bass.
So I
it's-
They have really good wine now, by the way.
I have this app I just downloaded. I don't know how to pronounce it, Yucca or Yucca, but it's YUKA, and I think it's privately owned. I don't think it's like FDA regulated or anything like that. But you scan a barcode on anything. I'll show you guys right now. They say candles are really bad for you, especially
yes.
like to breathe in the
unless
smoke and
unless they're
breathe
like
in the
soy or something. Or
yeah. So I'll scan the barcode on there and it'll tell me. It gives you like a rating.
You want to do it?
Green is good, yellow is like risky, and red is bad, or orange is poor, whatever.
But
and
are you-
it'll tell
is
you
it
the
be-
stuff that you're ingesting.
But really, are you sucking in the fumes off the candle? I mean,
Well,
I do hear that candles are bad.
Inadvertently, you are. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
sitting there putting your mouth on it or anything, but you.
yeah, not unless it's a bad day.
Unless it's real bad.
It's called.
Yeah, so it looks
like, this smoke is bad.
I did just to give you an example. I ran a few things that I just found around the house or something like that, and it'll tell me.
You got a lot of red.
Yeah, and
it say about the tea, the green tea?
it said unknown. I have to plug in the ingredients.
Oh, okay.
If you
It's all
type in all the
can't grade
ingredients that
dirt.
are on there, then it'll tell you.
Interesting.
But some of the stuff I was really like, these were skinny dipped cups. So they're supposed to be the good Reese's version, right? The
Yeah.
off brand. And it's saying too fatty,
yeah.
but it's called skinny cups.
right.
Yeah.
But too
But
much fat is in it, you know?
I mean, well, the only thing is, it should compare one to the other. So you should be like,
Oh no.
I think it needs a better platform. It says Yucca doesn't know how to rate drugs. Black cedar. But I I don't know if it's thinking it's a drugstore product, maybe.
Got
so
it.
it's thinking that. I don't know. Let me see the water. I want to do like a better example. So this is Casa Cardenas water. This is purified drinking water from Cardenas.
De la Mas.
Excellent. 100 out of 100.
Oh, there you go.
Which means they use purified water. 0 calories, no sugar, no fat, no nothing. But if you do your favorite tea, your favorite coffee, your favorite, God forbid they have like a Starbucks something, it'll be like high in sugar, high in fat, high in this.
You know what I was thinking about is
sweat ducts.
all the parties and barbecues you used to have, and they were some of the most phenomenal get-togethers. And Michelle, you have to come to the Cataldo residence, and you haven't done them in such a long time.
Now's the time.
I'm
COVID's
old.
over.
You're not old.
I'm old. It's funny because
we're right behind him, so we're old.
We had good food. We had good food and good get-together for Alyssa's baby shower. That was fun.
Okay. Was that the one I couldn't go to?
The one?
Ooh, you didn't make a lot.
Come on now, the one.
Well, the one time I was with my ex-girlfriend.
Wait, there was one.
And we had a usual.
Our favorite one was when you came, saw everybody, said I'll be back in a few minutes, and then never returned.
What was that?
I got it. We got it.
And so that one was interesting. Yeah, no, I think we got to do some more of that.
New Year's Eve parties, man.
New Year's Eve is fun. My sister asked me about New Year's Eve, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I just go to sleep now.
No,
I'm just
I do too.
I'm like, I have
New
to.
Year's, I make it to midnight, maybe.
You know what? I feel like New Year's Eve has kind of taken a chill pill lately. You know,
it's all during the week now too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think COVID ruined everything.
It did.
And so I mean, because like when we came back, just like, I guess we can live without it. I mean, it's like so it's hard. But yeah, New Year's was fun. Barbecues were fun. I mean,
got to do them again.
We
man.
had everybody down to the beach. You could not make it this past year again.
No, but I do remember some fun times at the beach. I got really drunk one time.
Yes, and he threw up all over everything. The boardwalk, the sand, the
Jack and
deck.
Coke.
I blame, but I partially blame
Veronica.
Was it Veronica
Or was it Scarlett?
Scarlett,
Or was it my wife?
I don't remember.
Just because they can
all of the above.
Just because they can outdrink you doesn't mean you have to try to keep up with
You
them.
don't have to. They're not
I
going to
was
make you look
young.
bad.
I was 21 or 22 or
Like
something.
We all threw up at 20.
trying to keep up
Come
with
on.
people who can easily outdrink you. I mean, that's why I don't try to outdrink anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, all my friends and everybody can outdrink me, and I'm like, that's fine. I don't drink,
But
I'm good.
Okay, so here's what I want to ask you, Matt. As a teacher, as COVID happened, and then everybody's become so politically inclined. How have you dealt with that with your students in these past few years?
If they want to talk, we talk. I'm not a person who needs to throw out my beliefs.
Yeah.
I said, I mean, people get it by the way I go about my life, but a lot of people are just like, I don't know, like how you feel about this or this or this. And I just had a great conversation yesterday with one of my students, and I think it was perfect because she actually thanked me later in the day. She goes, that was such a great conversation. She goes, thank you for having it. She talked about the fact that, I don't know what we said. And I was like, it depends on if you're, left or right. And she's like, well, my family is Cuban in Miami. I said, probably most likely you're right then. I said, because I can't see them because, and it's interesting because people just blindly think, and this year showed it. So Hispanics got almost to 50-50 voting for Trump and Harris. And I think we got to the point now where a lot of first, second, third generation immigrants are just like, they're being like lumped in and just being like, you need to vote for Democrats. Why? What has happened that I'm so happy about? Why did I go through this painstaking, money-sucking process to become a citizen, and you want me to vote with the party who's just okay with everybody just flooding across the border? And I said to the kids around us, I said, trust me on this. When Democrats are talking about how great socialism is, even how great some parts of communism are, you ask all the Cubans in South Florida, why would you get in a small boat and go 90 miles from Cuba to Miami if it was so great in socialistic communist Cuba? And they don't. These people don't. They don't risk their life and limb to get from somewhere that is paradise to the United States if it is not that much markedly better. And the Cubans know it best because they're basically told, well, yeah, I mean, hey, vote for us. We like immigrants. We're okay with people crossing the border illegally. And then they'll look right back at you. I'm not. I spent all this money. I spent all this time. I did it right. And you're telling me to vote for you so you can let people do it the wrong way? Now, the other side, I said the other side of the problem is that we have a terrible immigration system. I said, because if our system was proper, if our system was like it was when when my family got here in the late 1800s, early 1900s, even into the 1930s and 40s when they were escaping Germany and Europe, if our system was even just reasonable, a reasonable system, not a money grab by lawyers, not all this time and fees, if it was reasonable, nobody would pack themselves in the back of a cargo truck. Nobody would get under in a gas tank that is fake in a truck. Nobody would swim across the Rio Grande. No one would run from the Border Patrol. No one would pay coyotes all this money. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't risk their life if the other way wasn't so hard. And no one wants to talk about it. Fine, build a wall. Stop everybody from coming in illegally. Stop the drugs, stop the guns, stop the terrorists, stop the criminals. And then make it reasonable for everybody else. I got family here in the United States. They will sponsor me. They will vouch for me.
I have somewhere
they
to
will
live.
help me.
I have somewhere
I
to
have
go.
somewhere to live. I have a job waiting for me. I want to be okay. Quickly, get you in, get you on the path of citizenship. But all these things take other things to go along with them. Yes, secure the border so no one comes in wrong, and then let all the good people in right. There's millions who should be here, who want to work, who want to learn English, who want to become products of our society and government and be good citizens. So let them in. Don't go through years and years and years and tens of thousands of dollars and all these lawyers. Why would you need lawyers? Fill out the forms. Your family comes down to Tijuana. They go over everything. They're like, okay, we're good. And they come back. And you employ healthcare workers, social workers, something to check up on families, like a parole officer, but a good one. He checks in. He checks in with all his immigrant families. How are we doing? Did we get our bank account? Where are we working? What can I help you with? Have you applied for Medicaid? Have you done all these things?
Even just for support, if anything, not for anything bad, like if you break the rule, we're going to send you back. But
if you break the rule, then you go to the other side.
Let's mentor somebody to maintain the lifestyle that they came here for.
Social workers, their job is to understand people and help them. We can hire social workers to take care of immigrants, just like we can have them take care of recently homeless or recently now employed and recently homed. All these things. We need to have that kind of stuff. And that's part of the things that people were talking about when they said defund the police, but they used the worst term on earth.
It is the worst term.
Don't say take away money from the people who protect you, because when someone attacks you, I don't really want a psychology major to head on out to my house to go over the beating I just took and the mugging. You have to have police. But what you have to have too is you have to have a social net to make sure you take care of all the problems before they get to the police.
That's
no reason
true.
for that. So you do all these things, but say it right. Don't use catchphrases. Don't use ridiculous things that don't work. I mean, saying
That's just the way to get an agenda passed.
Yeah, but saying we don't need a police department's got to be the stupidest thing on earth. Criminals will go to your city. That's like, they might as well just take out an ad. We do not have an alarm on our house. We don't even lock our door, and we'll be gone all weekend. I mean, you just can't do this. So all of these things can be fixed. So that's what you're looking at. And people are so misunderstood when it comes to what they really want. And this election was very poor because they tried to boil it down to two issues, and they were issues that really don't mean a lot to a lot of people. And people thought they did. And I'm like, you got to be responsible for yourself. You have to be not only emotionally responsible, fiscally responsible. You have to be an adult. If you're not an adult, don't try to make adult decisions.
But what I like about what you guys both said on the show tonight is how, the goal should be for a lot of people to get involved with your community in your own tiny little community around your house, and to build the people around you, the small businesses, to support people in your community.
Because it's all that matters. Mm-hmm. It's all that matters is like a 10-mile radius around you. Mm-hmm. Nobody's really affected. Mm-hmm. I'm not really affected by somebody smashing in the Louis Vuitton store and stealing all their,
or San Francisco
overpriced purses that
are
probably cost $9 to make. Yeah. It doesn't affect me. What affects you is around you. What goes on in your city, probably what goes on in the adjacent cities. And that's what you should be thinking about. That's why when you vote for people, if you're not going to do anything when it comes to voting, that's stupid. But when you go to vote, you don't need to vote for president. I don't have to vote. I voted for Chase Oliver, and I know Chase Oliver wasn't going to win. Okay. I thought he was going to come in third, but he came in fifth, and I'm okay with that. In the state of California, my presidential vote doesn't matter. We already know which way it was going, but my local people, they matter to me. What's going on? Do I have city council people that don't like to have homeless people sleeping outside of businesses? Do I have city council people that have an idea for where we can house them, what we can do, how we can fix it, how we can grow certain things, how we can not use every piece of dirt in the city to build apartments, condos, townhouses, and homes? So yeah, Rancho is literally, if you try to drive around, you see dirt, just figure something's going to be built on it soon.
Well, the traffic,
they don't want dirt.
LA traffic is now in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, it's brutal.
You can't drive down Foothill.
No.
Not at all. I take every street and go around Foothill when I'm going anywhere.
The 210 is busy almost all the time now.
Yeah. It's in Rancho.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like build some traffic. That's what I tell people. I don't understand why the state of California is so caught up in pollution when our pollution is so far down. Why are we talking about doing all these changes for global warming? The Chinese are going to destroy the country no matter what. Mm-hmm. They're 1860s production style. Mm-hmm. They're burning stuff like you wouldn't believe. Mm-hmm. They don't really care. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so if these other countries are like, yeah, we're going to do this to save the world. Awesome. But if large countries, the one that has 2 billion people, doesn't care about those rules, it doesn't matter. It's not like their part of the world is going to collapse.
Can't control anything.
Yeah.
What? So China is going to destroy the earth and just going to be China that's destroyed? That's not how it works. If they destroy the earth, if they heat up the core, if they destroy the ozone layer, all of those things. But I did see there's some funny stuff on social media. This one person was like Chicken Little kind of stuff. And they were like, back in the 80s, they told us don't use aerosol cans, because the ozone layers can be gone.
Or because people will sniff them.
Yeah, well,
they do that.
10 years later, though, you don't hear anything about the ozone layer anymore.
That's correct. It's
so
funny,
but all of these end of the world things that were going to happen, and that now they're not there anymore.
But like, for example, the term carbon footprint, we didn't hear about that until the big BP oil spill.
Yep.
And was that our fault? No, it was their fault. Mm-hmm. And now we got to learn about our carbon footprints and how we affect the environment.
Mm-hmm. And what people talk about, they joke about online. Be like, when I grew up, you didn't have people telling you drink a lot of water. I don't know if we just drank water, but what was that? Why now is everybody like drink water? Like, is it new? Is it something? Yeah. Did the water guys get to everybody? But the fact of the matter is that all of us grew up, all of us lived, we drank from the hose. And so is our water worse now? Probably. So the water that comes out of your faucet is bad and there's new things. But again, that's the government deciding like there can be chlorine in your drinking water. Yeah. There can be this in your drinking water, just like the FDA. What is it?
Fluoride.
It's like you can have rat hair, you can have rat bone, you can have all that stuff in your ground beef.
As long
as okay.
As long as it's just this much.
Yeah. As long as it's just enough where you can't see it or taste it, we hope.
Yeah.
It's okay. Mm-hmm. And so, it all comes back to people need to know that the government is corrupt. Yeah. And everyone knows it. Come on. You got California spent $25 billion hitting at the homeless problem over the last like 4 or 5 years. And we got more homeless than ever. So someone's got $25 billion, but it certainly didn't go to homeless causes. Or maybe it did. I mean, just companies that are just like...
Maybe even temporarily clean up the streets just because the Olympics are coming up in 4 years.
Well,
that's what they're doing.
Newsom did that up in San Francisco when the president of China came.
Oh, yeah.
He literally cleaned up all the streets and then said it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, why are you cleaning the streets? Oh, because the president of China is coming.
Yeah.
You're like, so you know it's bad, but the only reason you're doing
put 'em
is...
back afterwards.
Okay, here's
because you
something-
don't want someone to know how bad you are.
I don't know about this, and I want to ask you this, if you know. Construction in Southern California, it's gotten worse, and everything takes longer, and no matter where you go, no matter what city or intersection or freeway or street you're on, there's construction more now than ever. Why is that, and why is it taking so long? For example, the 10 freeway, it's been over a decade since they've been working on this small little portion of the 10 freeway.
Yep.
Yet, in the last 3 years, they built SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. They built the Clipper Arena into a dome, and another
Private funding
and
versus
soccer.
public funding.
Well, so I mean, yes, the public and government bureaucracies that go into building things is insane. But also, they don't really know what's going on. They don't have any idea. And they don't, again, I think this is something that I've been coming to learn recently, and I've been telling a lot of people. People, like, the government doesn't care about you. So because you get stuck in traffic every day going to work and it takes you longer, they don't care. They're not driving next to you. I mean, let's be honest. They're not going, oh, God, man, this is terrible traffic. I hate having to be in this every day. I mean, all of those things, they don't really care. Why did the state of California, the Democrats, tell us to vote on that gas tax bill to have safer roads, better roads, and bridges and freeways? And why are all the new lanes that are being built in our area toll roads? So we paid the money to build them. Then the state of California sold them.
Yeah.
But that was ours.
Yeah.
We still have to pay.
We
And we
paid
still
to
have
have
to-
them
we have-
built.
yep.
Now we have to pay again to drive on them.
Right.
So it's just really the government doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
They don't really like you.
Yeah.
And they don't actually want to do anything that's helpful to you.
Yeah.
It's just them keeping their jobs and going, oh man, well, you got to put me in 2 more years because I haven't finished this project, but
Yeah.
we're close.
Yeah.
Be like, dude, I mean, why does the president of the United States during their first term, as they're running for a second, why when they run for the first one are all their plans 5 years? Let's have some 2 and 3 year plans.
Yeah.
Let's have some 2 and 3 because you're only getting 4 years. So why are you saying in my 5th year I'll do this? It's just because they don't care. I just want to tell you what you're going to need to vote for me. And I'm going to tell you the same lie again. And in 8 years, I won't be president and none of the things will have been done. And you're too stupid to realize that the next person's going to do the same thing again. And it's funny.
A vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's funny and scary at the same time because you would think, okay, it can't happen again, can it?
I think they have
and then they're
to
just,
be,
yeah.
I think they have to, we have to implement where they have to implement or go forward or with what they say they're going to do. And they have to have a check and balance at the end. Well, it's been 2 years and you haven't done this. We need to know where you're at or you got to go.
They just, but
Like
they
there's no guarantee that what they tell you they're going to do anything at all.
once
My
they're
thought-
there, they make the rules though to keep them there no matter what goes
know.
on.
I thought it was just construction workers finding a loophole so they can, work longer on a project and make more money.
That
I
could be
think
it.
Caltrans does that a lot. I mean, they're pretty
And I
good
don't
at.
think Caltrans workers make enough either. So maybe people don't have a lot of crew, skeleton crew. It could be anything.
Okay, I mean,
A lot
for
of big
example,
rig
like
trucks
at
messing the
midnight, you
streets
can't even
up.
get. Last night,
Oh, I know.
my car blew up on the freeway.
I saw the picture.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I was not my Audi, but the other one. I lost power, and I'm this close to home after working a long shift. It's midnight, it's 12:30, and the engine starts to flutter, and so I'm like, I can make it home. Let me hit the gas harder. So I hit the gas harder. The temperature hits red, and smoke starts coming out of the engine immediately, very quickly. So I had to pull over to the shoulder right before Euclid on the 10 freeway westbound. And I pull over to the shoulder, and smoke starts coming through the vents. And I'm like, man, now I got to wait for this to die out. So let me roll the windows down. Then I see flames coming out of the engine. I'm like, oh, crap. I got to get out.
I gotta get out.
Let me get my headphones and my mic muff and everything else that I need, my cell phone, I call 911. And, as soon as I call 911, the whole front engine just
engulfed
in fire and in flames. And luckily, it's at 12:30 at night. There's no traffic. The fire department is right there off of 4th Street. So they got there in about 3 to 4 minutes. And by that time, though, almost the first half of the car was blown up and already in flames. And so they came and they put the fire out. They had a little bit of trouble putting it out, but they had to tear apart the hood. And eventually I was able to get everything else out. And the fire truck took me to a couple blocks up, and I was out of the freeway. So I called my cousin to come pick me up. I'm on the freeway. Hey, cousin, emergency. Come pick me up. They're putting out a fire. Oh my gosh, I'll be on my way. She lives in Ontario. Off of Sultana. Let me hop on the 10 freeway. Okay, you got to just, go to 4th, go westbound. I go to 4th. Can't, construction. Damn. All right, cool. Let me go to the next one. Let me go to Vineyard.
Yep.
Can't, construction. They close it after midnight. They close it. Crap. What am I going to do? Let me go back to Euclid. So she has to drive all the way back to Euclid. Luckily, she gets on and has to go all the way down to Archibald to come back around and finally get me because of construction.
It happened when I was leaving the podcast last week. I left, and I get on back on Central and get a ticket to the 10.
Yeah.
And it's blocked.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's not even a detour sign.
It's hard because you don't know. I mean, I was going to pick Nicholas up from the airport.
You don't know.
Recently when he was, it must have been, when did he come in? I don't know. He came to visit. Oh, came for fall break. So he came for a week from school. And I went to pick him up, and I think he was getting in at like 12:10. And they were just getting ready to shut down Archibald. And luckily I got off, but I'm like, dude, all the cones were up. I was like, how are you just going to shut off all the exits? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, you have to exit somewhere. But again, they don't care. And when they get to the point where they want to do something, they just throw cones out, put a flashing light up, and just like, you can't get off here.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like, whatever. We're okay because we're going to do our job, and it doesn't matter about
whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And I'm always mad about it because we keep voting for the same people who keep screwing us over. And then we're just pissed about it. And then we just keep writing their name or checking the box because they have a letter next to their name. And we're like, oh, that's what we do. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So hopefully people are changing, but kids are becoming this election.
Yeah, I noticed.
This election was a lot like 2008. So when Obama ran for the first time, I think it really woke up a lot of young people to let me find stuff out. And, they're watching it all on social media, and then they're learning more about it because they ask. They don't just take what they get from social media and believe it to be true. Some do. Some just spout the same things over
Probably
and over.
a good
And I'm
thing
like,
that they don't.
yeah, and no, it's smart because they can't. We can't just see a meme and be okay with it. They made a meme joke. It was a meme that said, everybody's worried about banning books. We need to stop banning books at school. We need to ban guns. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. I said, because no schools in the United States allow people to have guns. Guns are banned. Another teacher who doesn't work with us anymore immediately posted, this is how easy it was to find on Google. And they put up, some teachers are now permitted to carry guns. And I said, yes, they are legally permitted to carry guns, just like the cops are on campus, just like the cops are at the courthouse. Criminals are not allowed to carry guns. Students are not allowed to carry guns. And then I said, just find me the article that shows me a mass school shooting carried out by an employed teacher. So then that person went ghost. And then somebody said something else. And I said, just so you know, I said, that's wrong. I said, there's no guns on campus. Police have guns. Most teachers do not carry guns. And then I ended with, P.S. Did you know drugs are also not allowed on school campuses? We see how that's going.
And if you can't answer this, then we could skip it. But what's going on with Los Osos High School? Because lately, there's been a lot of just terrible things consecutively and within the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Los Osos issue. I think just some bad things happen, and maybe coincidentally they happen to people at the same school. I know people who knew the people. I knew kids who knew the kids who were in the bad car accident. Was that a year and a half ago? I think it was a year and a half ago. The three kids in a car from Osos.
Yeah.
Was that on the 210?
Yeah.
They lost. No, I think it was on a street up by Los Osos. They lost control of their car and hit a pole, and I think two of the three of them passed. I think I don't want to blame social media, but social media has a propensity to have a lot of stupid things going on it, and people start to follow these stupid things, and you just never know. I mean, everybody's at different places in their life, and it's not a school issue. It's a society issue right now. I mean, suicide is still a prevalent issue for young people, and it seems to be getting younger. I think that's the scariest part, is that younger kids. I mean, I can honestly say I don't remember knowing what suicide was maybe until like high school. I'd never heard of anything like that. And I think like a lot of schools are dealing with it. I mean, there's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of kids. And I mean, Osos is very tight up there. They're just like Rancho. I mean, they have a lot of things going on. I mean, one of the girls I know was part of the dance group that was on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Man, we saw them. They performed for us in August at our back to school meeting. Just incredible. Yeah. And the
I know
part,
someone whose daughter's on the team.
Yeah, the part that really spoke to me was that it wasn't like raunchy, and I'm like, I thought that's what all dance was now. And they really had a good choreographed dance. And
it was very good.
Yeah, and it was really special. And my wife, she knows some two kids who were friends with the kids at Osos that passed away from suicide. And it's just like, they're lost too. And so, not everybody knows exactly, when they, I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, just so you know, anybody who keeps saying they're going to kill themselves is usually the one who's not. You got to watch out for the ones who, seem fine. I think it was just like a quote. Robin Williams was like, it's like something about, it's
your happiest friend.
Yeah, it's like the people who are, the being able to hide the sadness is the ones, that's the talent. I mean, so and people do it, and so, but if you're more aware, if you're more in touch, if you talk to people about things that are not just normal stuff, you'll get more out of them. So, I mean, teenagers just want to be treated like people. I mean, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. And, you hope that drugs aren't involved and stuff like that. And you hope that stays away. But, we have to be realists in this world. I mean, we know what goes on. And so, more education into that, more social programs, things like that will help those students, but not a school issue. It could easily happen to people at any school. It's just kind of it happens, and we need to do better as a people to figure out how to fix it. And a lot more of it is connecting with your kids, connecting with other people's kids, people that your kids are friends with. Stuff like that. You should know about the people your kids are friends with, and you can't be perfect. I failed for sure. I didn't know every one of my kids' friends, and I didn't track them with a homing device, so I didn't know where they were at all times.
Yeah.
If they told me they were going somewhere, I believed it. So, but you do have to do as much as you can.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's an invasion of privacy. Other times it's something that they want to volunteer to you. But you'll never regret, being more of a parent than less of a parent.
That's true.
And so just like I don't think any teacher would ever regret being like, man, I think I taught too much this year. Versus, man, did I teach anything? Or I watch movies. Kid told me the other day, was like, man, I have watched more movies this year in all of my other periods than yours. I'm like, well, that's not that hard. He goes, yeah, because we've never watched a movie. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's very easy. I'm like, if you've watched one in another class, which you shouldn't be, I mean, hopefully they're teaching.
Let me say this, and there's a reason why I loved your class so much, Matt, is because I got to be myself. I got to explore a new avenue that I found a natural talent that I had in me, and I was able to put it out there and learn from all the other students in the classroom. You kind of let everybody do your thing. You don't lecture that much. You see your students grow. They learn a lot from you that way, but they learn from themselves in fiddling with the gadgets and the computers and editing and Premiere.
That's cool.
And you've changed so many students' lives that way. And you changed mine. I never thought in my entire life as a kid, I would be on the radio, and not just on the radio, but in some of the biggest radio stations in the world. And I don't think I would have ever had the balls to have even gone for that if I didn't take your class. And that's how much you've touched me. And I know I'm just one of many.
It makes me happy, and I see it a lot. And I remember, because I tell a story about you to some of my students who talk about, oh, there's like internships out there and there's like free work, and I don't want to just be doing free work. And I was like, so I tell the story about Freddie, and we were having a conversation, and Freddie's like, dude, they just keep giving me more hours. I'm like, I'm the one doing everything. This is when you were interning for Rick D's. They're just giving me more hours, and it's like a lot of work. I'm like, but there's no money. I'm like, okay, so there were a lot of interns, right? Yeah, there's interns everywhere. I'm like, there are interns getting less hours than you, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, are there interns that are gone? They're like, yeah, there's interns that are already gone. They weren't really good. I said, so you're getting the hours, you're getting all the work because you can do it and they like you. I said, you got to understand, this is it. I said, they can get free work from anybody. This is radio. This is television. This is where people want to be. They can get free work, but sucky free work is still sucky work.
Yep.
And I'm like, when you do something well and you do it good, they're going to want more of it. And soon enough, you'll be the only one left, and you'll be doing everybody's work, but you'll be there and you'll be getting a job, and you can tell people like, I was the one who did all this and everything. And it worked. It worked, but it's hard because even more today than when Freddie was 20 years old, man, people think everything is about money. Like, I need more money.
Not necessarily experience, but just money.
And the state of California has screwed it up.
We were talking about that.
Well, the state of California screwed it up even more, giving people $20 an hour to work at McDonald's.
Yep.
Now everybody's like, well, I need more than 25. This job's harder than McDonald's. I'm like, oh, okay, but I can send editing out to somebody who edits out of North Carolina or Wisconsin,
right,
where minimum wage is $7, and I can pay them probably $10 an hour, and they'll be going because it's way above what their minimum wage is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's 20 here. I'm like, don't care.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And so we've given this false sense of what they're worth, because they're like, dude, if fast food's making 20, I need to make way more than that because this is a skill. I'm like, I totally agree, but it's not going to happen because fast food workers should be making $8 an hour and you should be making 20. It's that simple.
When I had interns, when I finally became in charge of the interns at KISS, here's one thing I learned. I loved it. I loved being able to teach the kids everything I knew. And, a lot of people would be like, all right, here's how you can run the board. Or, hey, here's how you talk on the radio. Maybe you can film yourself doing it at home. No, you know what I had the kids doing? I did what you did, Matt. I put them in the studio and I sat back and I said, here's what you do. Go ahead and do it. And there was pressure because it was KISS, it was a big radio station, but and they did fine. They did great. They were nervous as hell. Sure. They were, scared, but I gave them everything. I didn't hold back any information or any intelligence. I gave them everything. And you know what? They always messaged me back on Instagram or Facebook and they said, Freddie, you are the one who showed me everything and let me do everything. And thank you for that, because now I work here. I go, God, what a feeling.
That's cool.
It's amazing because it's literally taking especially when you love something. I think there's a lot of teachers who just hate subject matter, hate what they do, and it doesn't work. But when you love it and when you love whatever you're teaching someone, it's really good. I mean, I have random conversations all the time because I do a lot of things and I've loved doing a lot of things. And, but I still like talking about kids and working, man. This generation, they got a group of hustlers in every class. They'll be out there. I got kids already getting paid by the sports teams at Rancho for pictures, for highlight videos of just them. And the kids are just like, this is great. I'm like, they're like, I did, a JV baseball game and I shot all the photos and they paid me $50. I'm like, that's crazy good. That's awesome. And then you can do more and then you can do all stuff. So it's there. The excitement is there. And I'm like, you want to. But we talk about finances. I mean, kids are like, kids will ask me, like, they don't listen. And they're like, do you understand the stock market? I'm like, yeah, it was a love of mine from when I was a little kid. I mean, when I was a small kid, we had so my dad had what they called bookshelf games, and stock market was one of the ones we had. So you pulled the game out, and my friends from the neighborhood, we all learned it. And basically back then it was Alcoa, General Electric. It was all companies from the early 1900s. And so there it was. You bought it, roll of dice made the stock market go up and go down, and then you would buy and sell and buy and sell and buy and sell. And at the end of the game, you had a winner who had the most money. And I loved it, still love it. I still love helping people invest. I still love going through that. But I tell kids, I'm like, you guys are so lucky. I'm like, when I was 18, I didn't really have a lot of money, okay, because I wasn't making a lot of money. But if I was making $20 an hour in fast food, living at home, I'm like, the things I could do right now with that kind of money, I mean, that's an Apple share every shift. I mean, you're talking like, hey, I can really, really, maybe a shift and a half. I can really do some stuff. And I'm like, set yourself up for 35 years from now. Because, people too much, they're like, oh man, Bitcoin went from this to this. And I'm like, okay, got it. And so if you had that, you'd have that now. But the fact is that 40 years from now, you're going to be like 58 years old. You're going to really be thinking or already have been thinking about retiring, and Social Security or whatever we have then or whatever you're doing, they're probably going to be like, yeah, you got another 10 years going. But if you started investing $20 a week when you were 17, 18 years old and just started buying the big stocks and staying in the large areas, you will be wealthy. I said, and you will have already thought about retiring, and you won't have to work forever, and you won't have to do stuff like that. And it's easy, but they don't know that it's easy because everybody talks about like, oh man, buy all these shares. And you know what? And 2 weeks later, sell those and buy something else. Nah, just buy a stock and put it in the account. Buy another one, keep it in there. Right. Don't buy crazy ones that you think could go up and up and up. Just buy the big ones and make real money long term.
Maybe it's best to kind of forget about that money too once you invested in it.
You got to.
Because apps like Robinhood have made it so easy to just pull out whenever you'd like.
Yeah,
that's
the bad thing.
And then they find out about the taxes that they had to pay on the money they pulled out.
Exactly.
I keep trying to warn my son about that.
Have you heard about those apps nowadays that are copying billionaires trading? How is that legal?
The biggest one is tracking Pelosi. That's the one that started everybody.
Oh my God, I never heard of that.
Because tracking Pelosi is smart. I mean, she's a criminal. Yeah. I mean, her and her husband are absolutely stock insider trading criminals. So, I mean, it's good. But yeah, well, because people like that have to file. So they have to file when they purchase stuff. So you got to find the people who, like, you don't file a paperwork when you buy 5 shares of Apple.
No.
Okay. But when Buffett is about to buy 10 million shares or dump 5 million shares, that is public knowledge. So what they're working on is public knowledge of when these people are buying and selling, and their app is tracking it, and so you can put money in, and you can just follow the buying and selling. And Pelosi has become very rich on insider information. So it works, but it's cool. I mean but that's the kind of stuff that people are learning about. And you know what? If you don't buy a 12-pack of beer every week, or you buy 2 and now you're only going to buy 1, and you take that extra money and you put it into the stock market and you leave it, it's going to be crazy. I mean, you're talking crazy increases. I mean, there's just been some great stocks, and there'll always be great stocks, and great companies are going to continue to make money. And that's what I was saying earlier. I'm like, 10%. I mean, these big companies have been dominating 10%. I mean, the S&P has done 10. I mean, but Apple, Amazon, I mean, big guys like that, Google, Alphabet. I mean, you're talking more than 10%. Easy. I mean, these guys have been doubling even through the ups and downs of terrible times. And certainly when there's a down, try to come up with more money. But companies are doing things right. So people speculate with wrong ones and whatever, and they get into bad ones. And just buy big companies, let them flow. They'll come up, they'll come down. When they're down, buy more. When they're up, just be happy. Every time they dip, put any extra savings. I hate savings accounts. I think they're the stupidest thing you could ever do. If you want to just have savings, put it into stocks. And when you need that savings money, fine, sell some shares. But when you have it in stocks and you see how much money it's making, it's so much harder to waste it on things. It's so much more difficult to be like, I really want a new laptop. So, but I have to sell 10 shares of Apple to buy it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
10 shares of Apple is 1,700 now. But when I bought it, it was 900. Good God, I made $800 if I
Makes
do.
you think about it.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it's so easy to go on your bank app and just transfer the money from savings to checking
Sure.
and pull it out or do whatever you want. It's
but
too easy.
seeing the percentage that you've increased since you've bought it right on the app, and
Yeah.
then knowing that if you sell it, you won't be making any more money, and that laptop is just going to go down in value, makes you think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are great things. I mean, it's just a world out there where there's so many opportunities to increase your being.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with Dustin. I'm sorry, not Dustin. Dwayne, who cut my hair and shaved me, and we both agreed that the prosperity financially is still the greatest in the United States. But he made a good point talking about the disconnect. So that's Dwayne Houston at Clips on 66 in Rancho Cucamonga. And he said that the social disconnect, I think, is where America has lost its way. And I fully agree. And we had the conversation 50 years ago, take 50 years ago, before all of us were born. Immigrants came to the United States, and the first thing they talked about was assimilation and learning the language. A lot of them just completely stopped speaking their original language. And I'm not for or against that, but their grandparents and parents knew the way to make it. We came here to the United States to be American, to have this American dream and live this life. So you got to learn the language. You got to learn the stuff that goes on. You have to assimilate, but you don't have to lose who you are. You can still have neighborhood block parties. You can still be friends. And people did that. People assimilated, and then they became a melting pot of all these different cultures. Now people are coming to the United States and be like, I don't want to learn English.
Correct.
I don't even want to really be here. I just want to make money and send it home.
Yeah.
And as quick as I can go back to wherever I'm from, I think I'm going to go.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so what you don't do is you don't become a part of society. It's like being an independent contractor at a business. You just kind of go there. You're a mercenary for that company. You do your job and you get out.
Yeah.
Employees look after each other. Employees should be, helping people out. Be like, oh man, you got a couple extra, I can help you. And they help you finish your job, and they give you tips, and they eat lunch together, and they take breaks together, and they're a cohesive community. And we have lost that in a lot of senses. And it's not just in metropolitan areas. It's around the country. People just aren't as friendly anymore. They don't take into account what their neighbors are going through. They don't know what they're going through. They don't go to church. They don't do these things that really brought people closer as humanity. And I'm not an ultra religious person. I'm a person who believes in God and sometimes jokes that I am God, but it's always joking. I'm always joking. And you know who knows it? God knows it. So I'm good.
Yeah.
But what happens is that people ask me, they're like, well, why do we have school shootings? Why do we have suicides like this? And I'm like, I honestly, and I'll always say it, I just believe it's because people don't believe in something beyond themselves. I said, I don't care if you believe in this religion or that religion, but not believing in a higher power trips me out a little bit, because I'm like, you just think like we're just here and we're just doing what we're doing.
And when it's over, it's black.
Yeah.
And you're in a dark hole forever.
And nobody guides us. And there's I got little voices, and I know I'm not crazy, but I got little voices that point me in directions. When I was working at Nordstrom's, Montclair Plaza doesn't exist anymore, the Nordstrom's, I was moving my way up. I was there less than a year, and they had offered me a third assistant manager job down at Newport Beach fashion. No, the other one, not fashion. What's the mall's name?
Fashion Island?
No, the better
South Coast Plaza.
South Coast Plaza. So they offered me a job at South Coast Plaza, and I'd make more money. Well, I didn't even have a car at that time. I took the bus to my job at Nordstrom's, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, but let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife. So I went home that weekend, and we talked about it, and I was like, I'm 5 years away from being a store manager. This is 1998. I'm going to be third on the floor. I'll be second. I'll be first. I'll be a buyer. I'll be a buyer at Nordstrom's within 2 years, because I was okay moving anywhere. Kim and I were just like, okay, well, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
My goal was 2002 or 2003, Boca Raton was going to open up their Nordstroms. They were already slated. It was already going to be built. And I knew when it was going to open. And I was like, dude, I'm going to get to that store and I'm either going to be assistant store manager or I'm going to be store manager of that place. And went home. We talked about it. Kim was like, well, if that's what you want to do, that sounds good. And so we talked. And then I went back to work and I talked to my manager and I quit. And I was like, I got to quit. And she's like, why? I'm like, because I can't do this. I'm like, this is not what I'm meant to do. And she's like, but you can still just keep working here. I'm like, nah. I said, I'm doing this. I'm selling shoes because I want to be a manager. I want to run a store. I want to run a store. Then I want to run a region and I want to just move up. I said, that's my goal.
Yeah.
I said, so I can't come back to just sell shoes if I'm not moving up. I said, I'm saying no to this manager job, so I have to quit.
Yeah.
It's like the same way I equate, and something told me, I hadn't got the teaching job yet, but a couple months later I'd be teaching. And it was crazy. It was that fast that a couple months later I'd be offered the job and like 6 months later I'd be in the classroom. And so obviously somebody guided me.
Yeah.
I mean, Kim and I bought our first house in 1999 for $150,000 in Fontana. It's worth $700,000. We bought our next house in Rancho at the bottom of the market, $420,000. Now it's worth $1 million. I do not believe I am that smart. I do believe that someone, a being, I believe it's God, has helped me through all these decisions.
Yeah.
He put my wife where my wife was. I got this random job at Montgomery Wards because my mom was so pissed at me. She was so pissed that all I would do is go to college and then come home and lay on the floor and watch television all day long. And she had to go to work. And so she said, get up and get a job. I said, I don't need a job. I don't need any money. I got plenty of money from my last job. She said, go get a job. You need a job. So called some friends. They told me about Electric Avenue was hiring at Montgomery Wards. I drove to the one in Montclair because that was the only one I knew existed. They told me, dude, you want to go to the one in Rancho. That's who you're looking for. I was like, there's no Montgomery Wards in Rancho. So I drove all the way to Rancho. There it was. Okay. So I'm like, Terra Vista. I'm like, I've been to the movie theater here. I get it. I get this job and then I meet my wife. So I don't know why.
Led you there.
Yeah, something led me there. There was no way I was going to end up selling TVs, VCRs, and computers at Montgomery Wards just randomly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a random happenstance that goes on. And I met my wife, and then we had our future. And I've had so many good things, and I've had businesses that I put a lot of money into, and because of other reasons, mostly other people that I trusted, I've failed in those, and I've lost money, and I've seen all this stuff happen. I'm like, you can't tell me it's just me by myself trucking along and just everything happens and there's nothing. And so when you have that sense of spiritualness and religion or God or whatever it is, you care more about people. And you wouldn't just walk onto a school campus and unload clip after clip after clip of bullets at people or directly killing people.
If you knew they were God's children,
you
or
would
you
care
knew
about
you-
them.
Mhm.
You would have already been instilled with the idea of these people are just like me. I love them. God loves them, and we love each other. You wouldn't do it, but now people don't. They play video games that kill people, and they think it's just natural. I mean, it's just so.
Well, it's also those
random.
books like The Secret that was such a big deal, and part of it was manifesting, and so it taught that you are a god of your own, and that was being fed into everybody, and it was books like that, and it was that belief of manifest, and I believe in manifesting to a certain extent, but it was like they were soaking this all up, and it was just like it was taking them a whole different course, for such a long period of time, and
Sometimes
now luckily,
sometimes I think I should read books, but.
Now, luckily, everybody, it looks like they're kind of, getting their senses back. I hope, And
But are we too far gone? Have we lost the idea of? I mean, I talk to people all the time, like, nah, I don't really like people that much, or I don't want to hang out, and I'm just like, there's a lot of people I don't like because just the way they are and the way they carry themselves. But I love people. I love talking to people. I love having conversations. I love meeting new people. I love just randomly talking to people at stores or in line, wherever it is, doesn't matter. Because that's just how I am. That's how my dad was. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
did that too.
you have to feel that. And so I'm like,
I remember your dad would
okay.
hang out with us at the beach, and the whole family was
That's
there. It was
cool.
just so much fun. It was so much fun.
I mean, people. I mean, when I worked at Easy Out right out of high school, I would come
Where's
home.
Easy Out? Does it still
It's
exist?
gone now. It's
Okay.
on. It's a Mexican restaurant, corner of Central and Foothill.
Okay.
It's that red building. That's the one I worked at. I also worked at the one that's still open on Arrow and Mountain. But I would come home from work and all of my friends would already been at my house for hours playing cards with my dad.
That's really cool.
You know,
Yeah.
my dad would cook food for anybody and all the time. And so they'd be cooking and I would just throw my stuff down, take my clothes off, you know, put on some regular clothes and start playing pinochle, start playing poker, start playing whatever we were doing, whatever board game. Risk usually was out, Monopoly, whatever we were doing.
That's fun.
But that was just what it was. And so that kind of stuff. And I didn't really see a lot of that when my kids were younger. I mean, they had some slumber parties, they had some people over, but not as much as I would have liked to seen. And I worry that people don't do that anymore.
You know, you've I would say you've come a long way, but you know, even back then you were kind of already doing your thing pretty well.
I was having a good time. I was like, this job is something I can do, love, and have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, my business partner is one of my ex-students. I'm like, we've got so many on a regular basis. I mean, the people that house sit for me when I go on vacation, they're all past students who are working in film. I mean, you know, a lot of them can do the work from the house. And so that's friendships because, like I say, someone needs something from me, they call me. It's not like they're like, oh man, could you maybe help me? They know if I can help, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's life.
Did we have, did you tell them about the top 5?
I was just thinking about that as well. Can you do, to close out the show, and I want to close out in a positive way, can we do a top 5 to teach us something? Your top 5, just, you know, I don't know, whatever, top 5, you know, if you want to be a teacher, top 5 things you need to, okay. Let's see.
He's not that positive about being a teacher.
It's a different world we're living in right now for teaching.
I know.
I hope the pendulum swings back and allows teachers to be teachers, but you know, micromanagement is currently
It's the problem with my job right now.
It's the current education system, and I don't know if it's everywhere, but it's infiltrating a lot of different places where it wasn't before. All right, I'm gonna go with top 5 ways when you're young to old to invest and set yourself up for early retirement.
It's good, a good idea.
Yeah.
So 5. Find a career or job that makes you happy. I don't really focus too much on how much it makes. I've made good money in my lifetime. When I didn't make good money at a job, I did another one and I did another one. So from the age of 9 years old and on, I've never had less than 2 jobs. I've usually had 3 or 4 jobs because I love working. I pick things that I like to do. And by doing that, I'm very happy with going to a job every day. Number 4, a secondary hustle. And I think kids today, they call it a hustle. And it's just work. I mean, you're hustling because you're always going. It's hustling because it's not a scam, it's a hustle. You're doing something 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. And then on the side, you're like, dude, I'm really good at this. I can make a little bit of extra money. Find something that you like. Maybe it's an addition to your job. Maybe it's another part. Like you're a police officer and your side job is security for, you know, an arena or something. And they pay you well, or you're private security, or you're doing something like that. You know, if you're doing a job that you're really good at and other people want you to do it for them on the side, do something like that. It's very much something where that hustle, that side hustle, is the perfect thing to segue into number 3 and number 2. So number 3 has got to be buying a house. And people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, there's people out there that say don't buy a house or don't live in the house you buy. I don't get it, because the one thing that you'll see through life, rents always go up. Mortgages stay very close to the same because the only difference in your mortgage is property tax, and homeowners insurance goes up. So insurance and property tax are the only thing that raises. Some people will say, oh, don't use your house as what they call an ATM. I agree in a sense. Don't use your house as an ATM for stupid things. Don't buy a boat. Don't buy a jet ski. Don't buy an expensive car you don't need. Use your house as an ATM if it's more investments, if it's taking money out to buy another home and treat that home as a rental, or maybe buying a house that your kids can live in and then they can grow and they can pay you rent, but it grows over time. The value of the house will keep going up while you pay a little bit of rent and they pay the majority of the rent. Same with renting. It will keep going up until you are now positive income. So buying your first house is amazing because that gives you your place to live. But in 30 years, it gives you a paid off piece of property. And as you become an adult, you will start to see, wait, the majority of my money goes to my mortgage. The mortgage, I mean, even the mortgage companies, they allow for 45% debt to income ratio. So they're allowing your house to cost 45% of your income after your debt is taken out of it. So they're saying almost 50% of your disposable income is going to go to your house. So how exactly do you ever stop working if you can't get rid of that house payment? You buy a house at 25, 30 years later, you're 55. You're like, am I really not going to have a mortgage anymore? And you're going to be like, all this money. Now you can start saving that and say, oh, in 5 years, I'm going to for sure retire because now I'm socking away so much money because I'm not paying a mortgage. So use that and use the side hustle to get yourself that extra money because your regular job might pay all the bills. If it pays all the bills, then you're stuck. You're just stuck in that spot. And you're like, I have no way to grow because all of my income goes to my expenses. So that means I need another job. I need another hustle. But I want something that's not a job. I want something that's a side hustle where I can do it, spend time with my kids, spend time with my family, do things like that. Invest at 18. As soon as you can get an investment account, or if your parents let you get one earlier than that, do some jobs. Don't waste your money on PlayStation and Xbox and vapes and stupid stuff like that. Take that money and put it into something. I recommend 100% buying the biggest companies in the world. Stay away from stuff that can go up and down, up and down, up and down and really give you a heart attack. And don't ever think about that money again. Just put it in there, invest it in some stocks, and do that every 2 weeks or every month. Whenever you get paid, just start putting that money away. Now, I'm not saying 100%. Don't live that life because then you'll be sad. Take some money, have some fun, take the rest and don't be stupid with it and invest it. And that's like the one because you got the house. Now you're going to have the investment. The investment is going to be every dollar I make in investment could be an extra day I retire early. More money in that investment account, more money in the retirement account means I can go years earlier. Because think about it. If you put I think it's like $10 a week invested from 18, bring it up to 20, I think after 5 years or something like that. You increase it as your job increases, you'll have $1 million plus, no problem, by the time you're 55 to 60. And that $1 million, even in the S&P 500, is going to be making 10% on average, which the S&P has done since it started, about 10%. That's $100,000 a year in interest only. You'll never touch that $1 million principal, and you'll have an extra $100,000 a year to go into retiring early, having more fun. So it's really something important. And then number one is an easy one for me, and it's a harder one for today's generation because they always think about something as, I have this, and kids tell me, and they're like, I don't think I'm going to get married because I don't want someone taking half my stuff. And I'm like, who's taking half your stuff? Well, if we get divorced, they're going to take half my stuff. I'm like, okay, so build everything with that person, and it's always going to be half yours, half theirs.
Yep.
So they're not taking half of your stuff. They're taking half of what they built with you. So my thing would be find yourself a partner who feels the same way. Hard work, family, future, vacation, fun, but also responsibility. So when you're getting close to that retirement point, and you will have massive ups and downs in your life, you will have peaks and valleys, and you will have losses in investments and gains that you've never even understood that you could gain that amount of money. And you'll be so happy because there'll be a person next to you. There'll be a person that has been there with you through the good and the bad. They've been working. They've been running their side hustle along with you. They've been helping you grow. They've been the reason, and you've been their reason that they want to do this stuff. They want to be motivated. They want to make that money, and they're just like, we grew this together. Then you'll never think of half mine, half theirs. And you'll also never want to be like wondering about divorce. This person was in the trenches with you. You grew with them. So I think the most important thing is find that partner that just is like, yes, I want to do those things with you. I want to grow with you. And, you know, you'll just be happy. Everything else in life will seem better because no matter what goes on, no matter how bad your day was, you have that awesome person at home and they have you. So that's it.
Wow.
Like it.
Give it up for Matt Cataldo. Man, that was awesome.
Great advice.
That was a lot of fun. Did you have fun?
I do. I love talking. So, and it's just unfortunate. I mean, I've talked about doing things more, just speaking more, and I just run out of time or I'm lazy. Like I told you, I get home sometimes, I just find myself onto a chair and then 5 hours later I'm asleep, you know, but it was the same thing when Dom was born. I got home from work and I would take him out of Alyssa's arms and basically I would have Dom until it was bedtime.
Aw.
And then Kim would get really mad at me because she's like, dude, you know, other people want to hold him. I'm like,
Nope.
then take him out of my arms. I was like, I'm not giving up my baby.
Well-
He's my grandbaby, not my baby. And Alyssa says that too, because she's like, just so you know, we don't have shared custody. Because I was like,
My
maybe
dad did that my whole time with
Really?
my son.
I'm like, maybe I could have him for a month in
He
the
thinks
summer.
My son is his. My
Yeah.
dad, still to this day.
like-
And my son's in his 20s.
Yeah. I'm like,
He's like, he's my baby. No.
You know what I hope? I hope that you become a regular because we absolutely love having
Yeah.
you.
well,
Learn so
I do
much.
have a lot more time in my life now. So
Awesome. But here's what I vouch for.
It's fun.
To close out the show. Michelle and I both agree that you need to have a little bit more, social activities at your home.
Yeah,
Barbecue,
so we can come.
a party,
Yeah.
something.
And I will tell you this. I hear this a lot from people all the time because they're like, when's your next barbecue?
Yeah.
And I did. It's so weird. I bought 2 new barbecue units.
Perfect.
And I have not been able to use them because I'm just like, so much stuff has been going on but I think when Dominic maybe comes out and Alyssa comes out in the summer, I would like to have an event because I mean, he's going to be like a year and a half old.
Wow.
And I'm like, he just turned a year old. And so it's super awesome.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I do throw some great parties and I make amazing food. So
Yes.
I will do
part of
something.
it.
So
You gotta do it.
Yeah. I mean, but it's most nice in summer because the weather is great.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, we could be 6 months away. Yeah, but Kim's always up for that. And
Awesome.
so yes. And then maybe we should do a remote. We could do a remote
Yeah.
from my house during an event.
Oh, we could try
Yes,
it.
that'll
Yep.
be cool.
Yep.
That'll be really cool. That's
See,
a great
there we
idea.
go.
All right, Matt Cataldo, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. I don't have a way to close out any of these shows because we just do them and close
We
them
just
out.
close them.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you, Matt.
Have a good night.